Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel.
Do it.
Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up interview. I've been wanting to get to this one. I just been buried, and I know this gentleman's been buried too. Brian Cox from Surgep. Brian, thanks for coming in to give us an update, man. You got a lot going on.
We do. Always love talking to you, Tim. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's talk about some things. You just had an announcement of a partnership with Parachute. What was it? Parachute.
Yeah, it's Parachute Connect. They're a group of folks. It's really more of a social responsibility group that got together in a way to, and it worked perfect for us because it's a way to reach people groups that we normally wouldn't have direct access to. All underserved, underprivileged type groups, whether it's called inner city school kid organizations, from Boys and Girls Club, different types of organizations that they already have relationships with where they can bring our products to. So a really, really big deal. And I think that it's going to have a pretty significant impact. It's a little bit outside of our core thesis of driving products through convenience stores and bodegas in the communities where our customers live, but it ultimately accomplishes the same goal of getting us into the homes of the underbanked.
Okay, so let's real quickly, just in case you haven't seen the interviews I've done with Brian prior, Surgep is ticker symbol SURG, trading on the NASDAQ. Give us the real quick rundown of exactly what it is Surgep does.
Yeah, sure. I guess probably should have led with that, but hey, you know what? As long as we get the message across, I think we're unique in that we really have a two-headed monster, if you will, two revenue drivers here. We provide underbanked financial services, and we provide underbanked telecom services. And what I mean by that is, we're unique in that we are a wireless company, a prepaid wireless company, and our target market are folks that don't have credit, don't have checking accounts. There's about 100 million prepaid wireless customers out there. The more well-known companies, TracFone, Boost, Metro PCS, all those because they go through television and what have you. We actually go through more grassroots, the convenience store. Our influencers are the clerks that work that checkout counter at the store where the underbanked, underserved neighborhood, the community, where they visit 5 times a week. That's really our influencers. That's the people that they work with. And that's really our points of distribution and touch points into these communities. And then the other, let's call it the other channel, it was by necessity 10 to 15 years ago, but now it's turned into a cool world called fintech of doing those transactions at the register. We actually own our own software platform that allows us to do those activations, to do those payments, to reload debit cards, to activate debit cards. And it's a lot of other life enhancing financial and telecom products for people that don't have the things that most of the people that, are going to listen to this take for granted.
So if they don't have internet, just so real clear about this, through those communities, through those convenience stores, you'll set up a pop-up tent and get people to sign up for a tablet, right?
Yeah, and we're actually transitioning. I'll give a 20-second background on that. When folks weren't showing up for the Zoom classrooms during COVID and the stay-at-home rules, government instituted an emergency plan at first to get folks access to internet. The government's always going to be reactionary, so let's acknowledge that. But what's unique about this government program, instead of the government trying to implement a program themselves, they used people who are already in the market like us to implement the program, and they just subsidize it. So we're a part of a program no different than Section 8 housing would be for the residents, or food stamps would be for food. We're a part of a program now called the Affordable Connectivity Program that subsidizes internet connectivity to make sure that everyone has access to the internet. So up until probably a couple of months ago, all of us used those pop-up tents to do that. Now we're transitioning our model into the brick and mortar inside of the convenience stores where folks shop, because as the keyword we talked about earlier, roots, we want to put roots in that community and then use that program as a way to get that store transacting on our network.
Okay. All right. So you have moved, so you're not doing the tents anymore in the parking lot. It's just you're every day. So instead of having one event on a week, you're actually educating the guys that are working inside the stores. They're becoming your salespeople, essentially.
Yeah, it's a phase-in process. Right now, in the second quarter, we started phasing that in. It's a much more cost-effective way. But look, at the end of the day, our thesis was for going to NASDAQ was to grow the largest distribution network of convenience stores, providing products to this community. And they're all independently owned, independent operator type stores. And it was a great way for us to grow our base of stores, understanding that you qualify for the program by being on any income-based government benefit. So knowing that these convenience stores, between 20 and 40% of the transactions at the store are done on the EBT card. Every time a customer pulls out that EBT card, that customer qualifies for free internet, free wireless service. So, enabling that store owner or that store clerk to create the lead, to help that guy out, to help that lady out, to get internet in their home. That was man, this is a great sales pitch. This is a great way for us to build a relationship with the store, use that to get in the door. Then, oh, by the way, Mr. Store Owner, we're integrated with every prepaid wireless company out there. So these customers can do their top-up payments that they're paying in cash somewhere. They could do it at your store. Oh, by the way, we can put this little rack over here that's got reloadable Visa cards where they can activate and reload them. We've got gift cards. We've got some other cool products that enhance people's lives that don't have credit cards or checking accounts. And it's really been that into the store. So we're using the ACP program, yes, to grow it. But to your point about having tents, well, think about it. If you and I are traveling through Tennessee and we go from town to town and we're signing up folks, when we leave, that tent's gone. If that customer needs customer service, or they have a question, or their kid throws the tablet in the bathtub, you go back and it's just a plot of grass. They don't know, there's no loyalty. And really all you did was just have one brick of a customer, a subscriber. We want to use the program to grow a relationship with the customer in that community. And just so, to kind of further the point.
It's a brilliant strategy, because here's the deal. You just said they don't have bank accounts. They don't have credit cards. How would you find these people?
Right. Well, here, it's really interesting too, when you look at the growth potential and the modeling. And one of the reasons why we transitioned, or transitioning, better said, into the brick and mortar store model of having roots in the community, we embedded a survey question in the enrollment process about 6 to 8 months ago to kind of prove a hypothesis. And we asked them, ACP is limited one per household. So knowing that, we asked the question, how many prepaid smartphones do you have in your household? And all of them are coming back between 3 and 5. So knowing that we're well over 250,000 ACP customers, it's actually 250,000 households. That actually represents over 1.5 million potential prepaid wireless customers at the same type of margin, at the same price points that we're doing now. So when you look at exponentially growing the company, it's not just growing your ACP business, it's using the ACP business as a time machine to massively accelerate your business model of adding stores, adding transactions, adding revenue, but also adding prepaid wireless customers that are not ACP. Using ACP to accomplish that as your golden ticket to get in the door and build relationships with stores and consumers in that community.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. So let's talk about your latest quarter. So, I mean, first of all, when did you uplist to the NASDAQ? How long ago was that?
Oh man, let's see. What was it? November 21, I believe.
November 21. We had stuff going on like COVID and some other stuff maybe that was maybe impacting the markets. But all in all, the company, and I'm just going to say this straight out, for as long as you and I have been communicating, you've been very clear and transparent about where you intend to take the company. And I would say you have executed on those calls, right?
It's funny you ask about the uplist. It should have been it was an accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. But, we did get hit upside the head with a 2x4 with how we had to pay the piper. We've talked about this in our conversations of what we had to do to get there. It was an educational process on learning funding, raising capital, and the impact that it has on you. So, yeah, I think once I fully understood, it took me probably 3 or 4 months to really grasp what the way that we uplisted, the raises, warrants, the types of funds that were involved, who were not investing in Surgepays, they were investing in the deal. And so that put us on a laser focus mad dash to profitability so that we never had to raise capital again by necessity. We could choose who the capital was coming from for the purpose that made sense to grow the company and grow the market cap with intent, as opposed to necessity, burning capital. Oh my God, we got payroll coming up in 3 weeks. What are we going to do? Just take the deal overnight type thing. So yes, it's all been an education. I feel like I could write a book even just on the past almost 2 years now. But yeah, fortunately, the things that we've grinded out have been successful. We're very pleased, never content. We're pleased with the progress that we've made, but we're more excited about what's right in front of us.
And so let's talk about that. I mean, your last quarter, how did you guys perform in your last quarter?
Well, we put out, obviously we've already done Q1. And by the way, I'm old school. I use net income. I know EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, there can be a little bit of voodoo, if you will, put in there. So I like using net income. I'm an old school entrepreneur. How much money did you make? Old school. So that's why you'll normally hear me talk about net income. We did 4.5 million in net income in Q1, and we put out there in a press release a couple of weeks ago. We kind of gave a little bit of guidance on Q2 that will be, beyond 6 million in net income for Q2. Really happy about that because it looks like it's going to be quite a bit more than 6. It's not going to be right, but it's not going to butt up against 6. So pretty happy about that because it showed, look, I've been very open in the fact that we looked within the last 2 quarters because we're preparing for a huge run. And I wasn't happy with my margins. I wasn't happy with some of our efficiencies, and I knew our economies of scale could be better. So I think what people are going to find interesting is that with us looking inward in Q2 and transitioning our business model to a more efficient, more cost-effective model, our overall sales didn't go up at that same ratio. we really did dial in and hone in on our profitability. So you're going to see sales that were up compared to Q1, but not at the same level as that, almost $2 million increase in net income. We really have refined the model, and where I'm content and really slamming the gas now and pushing forward. And I can focus instead of downward on day-to-day operations, making sure that every dime is being squeezed properly. Now I can focus on growing the company forward exponentially, and because everything's on the rails operationally.
Which is fantastic. You brought in a new, is it president that you brought in?
We brought in a president, and he brought in a vice president. So even as we speak right now, our company's moving forward. It's allowing me to have time to talk to portfolio managers, fund managers, and folks creating awareness and tell people about what we're doing. I tell you what, my life in that arena is so much more enjoyable now than what it was a year or two ago when I had to prophesy and tell people what was going to happen or what was fixing to happen, to use my Tennessean. Now the numbers that we're putting out articulate the model. They articulate the fact that my team does know how to make money. They articulate the fact that there's a giant addressable market that we've just scratched the surface and we're already in the black. And what's in front of us is exponentially both black and big as far as sales numbers. So the questions, the conversations, and the communications now are not about, when, hey, Tim, Brian, when are you going to make money? Tim, I just don't understand how you guys are. There's no more of that. Most of the debt, other than me, all paid off. I don't have to answer questions about any high interest loans. I don't have to answer questions about, it's all, what are you guys what's next? How fast can you grow the company? Could you grow the company faster if X, Y, and Z? So they're very enjoyable conversations now because they're all forward looking, because we've checked a lot of boxes, and the type of folks that we're talking to now are where we're going to be. They're the type of institutions who can help us level up. I've been very open. My goal is to not be a rinse repeat microcap. We're not raising capital every other quarter just to cover payroll, try to pump the stock, get some money out of it, and then repeat. The goal is definitely market share, market cap driven. Me being essentially about a third owner of the company, my play here is the stock price overall value as we grow the company. So I joke around with you and everybody else that my shareholder hat is a lot bigger than my CEO hat. And it's true. Hey, I don't weigh any, and sometimes sometimes we don't make decisions that would be best for me, the CEO, but it's best for the company. And that may sound crazy to some people, but hey, you know what? I get an email every other week, trying to throw 10 to 20 million bucks at us. So that would make my life easier. I could hire a lot of people. I could do a lot of things. I could play golf. I could do those things, but that's not what's best for the company right now at the price or what they're willing to do it for. So, not being a mercenary CEO and being a guy who's vested interest in the company, who's poured it all in. We talked about people that are all in and who lives, breathes, and eats the company. I think that's starting to show in our numbers.
It's definitely starting to show in the numbers, and I don't think that you plan to go backwards. I would suggest you probably want to keep that forward momentum going, right?
It's funny. I obviously, you can imagine as we get more eyeballs on us, I get more input, unsolicited input. And there's a lot of folks out there that have opinions on how you should grow a company that have never grown a company. Look, I know I do things a certain way. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the most successful entrepreneur that ever lived, but I have a model of how I grow things. It's in phases. It's laser focus. You don't chase the shiny object. Now you can pivot if an opportunity presents itself, like ACP did. It presented itself, but there was a clear-cut rhyme and reason for doing it. And then, you pivot, but the goal is still to move and to go that way. People think we should be doing an acquisition, every month. You're a growth company. You're supposed to be doing that. But have you looked at our net income the last 3 quarters? We lost 10 million in a year to breaking even in Q4 2022 to 4.5 net income Q1, over 6 million in net income Q2. In this world, in this environment, macro, I'd say we're a growth company. I'm content. I don't have to go buy income. I don't have to go acquire and dilute the company just to hit some kind of artificial number to make y'all happy. And if that's what you're looking for, that we may not be the company for you. You know, I'm going to grow the company the exact same way I would if it was, you know, if my name was out on the building and at the end of the day, the money in the checking account was mine. I'm going to try to grow it as big as I can, as fast as I can, while protecting what's in the account and protecting the integrity of what would be the ownership, but now what we call cap table, you know, that same methodology. So, and again, we'll make mistakes. I'm going to turn down some deals that may be great. I'm going to take some deals that may not turn out fantastic, but it's all going to be with the intent and the spirit of growing the market cap.
And that's, I mean, I don't think anybody can ask for more than that, right? I mean, as an investor, I think you've got, and we talked about this before we went live here, but I think you're in a very important place, helping people that need help, right? I think you got to feel good about it, right?
You know, I get, again, we talk to a lot of folks, and, you know, there's some people that talk about ESG and some of these other, let's call it these other hurdles that you can, you know, go after as a company. And what I tell people when they bring that up is, I think that humans are meant to look out for each other. I do believe that at some level. And if you look at our product mix and our service mix, every dollar that we ever make, any dollar we make, was providing a service that people are not getting from the big guys, if you will. That people are not able just to walk in and get, like you and I could go in and get anything we want on credit, throw a card down, walk out. We don't pay attention to prices that much at the grocery store. You get what you want, you walk out and you deal with it later. Everything that we provide is an actual service. It's people that we've helped. There's a direct correlation to our growth and how many people we help. So I can go to bed every single night knowing that every dollar that we made, every sale that we did, was somebody that we helped. And what's unique about, you know, people ask, oh, what keeps you up at night? Man, you know, with everything we're doing, actually helping people. And what's cool about our business model, our end product, our end services not only help the consumer, but by selling it through the convenience store, we're helping the small business that supports that community. You know, the inventory that these stores are carrying in these convenience stores, these kind of all in retail stores in ththese communities, the interest rates are high. Now that impacts their lines of credit that they use to support their store. You know, the less access to business credit means less products, less selection, higher prices. There is a spiraling effect that ultimately always ends up getting paid by the guy on the street. You know, the guy buying that let's call it, and it's not just low income, super poor people. It's the middle class too. You know, that really is the lower middle to middle class is also our target market, people trying to save money. So, you know, there is an impact that we bring that helps small business and helps that person trying to save a buck. And what's really cool about the macro right now, Tim, going back 20 years of providing underbanked products, we've always done our best at times where things got a little bit tough. And it's not necessarily a direct correlation to times being tough. It's the psychological awareness to being open to looking at saving money. You know, if you've got money left over every day, you're not really paying attention to, I'm not really that open to switching. I don't want to switch my wireless. I'm not, nah. But you know what, when things get tight and you're like, wait, I can save $10 a month on my wireless and it's the exact same service. Okay, what is that? You know, it's a psychological, it's the subconscious awareness that now you're open to the ideas that you otherwise just gloss over because things are good times.
Right.
So we're taking advantage of the window of opportunity right now. The store owners are very receptive. You know, we've got a backlog of stores that are being trained. We've had to hire 3 people just to work in our warehouse in Memphis that put together all the point of sale awareness, that ship out the posters and the stickers on the door and the little danglers at the cash register to create awareness.
Let's talk about this for a second, because you kind of built this model on the other side of the country. I'm in Vegas, and right, you kind of built the model, but then you did an acquisition, which opened up the rest of the country for you, essentially, right? How far along in that process? I mean, are you coming over to this side of the country or how far along in that process? How big of a market is it? I mean, I guess to scale this, I'm just trying to get an idea. I think back when you did the acquisition, I think you had about 8,000 convenience stores, right? That you were working with. Where are you at today?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We've been at 8,000 for a while. What we've honed in, that goes back to my whole model of focusing on profitability. One of the things that the curveball, we did get the blessing, if you will, of the ACP program. But when I saw the ACP program, I funneled all my sales efforts into growing that subscriber base, because that was how I was going to pay off all of our debt. That was how I was going to get our revenue over 100 million a year. And that was also how I was going to build a tip of the spear sales pitch to go get more stores. I was not going to go my traditional route, which was an expensive, high cost barrier to entry model of adding stores, where you bring in a sales guy, he works a territory. There's only so much right now that you can make. Gas prices are high, hotels are high, cost of living is high. So it made sense. We grease boarded this whole model, and we said, okay, there's only so much money you can make, because we want to pay the store. We want the store to be able to make money, good money off these transactions. Now, how do you do that? If you have a 1 or 2 product mix, very difficult, which, by the way, sidebar, those are the M&A strategy companies we're going to be going after here shortly. A whole lot of folks out there that are barely making it right now because they can't afford to pay salespeople to travel and pull those doors anymore. So digress on that. But the model now with the stores, that 8,000 was put on hold. I had no salespeople the last year and a half focusing on adding doors whatsoever. Few here and there just to maintain, but not a full-blown sales effort. When I hired Jeremy Geese, the end of Q4 last year, part of the reason I hired him was to incorporate ACP into this sales pitch to go get more stores. So they spent the first 2 quarters of this year integrating all of our software programs, creating a new back office where we can provide great reporting to these store owners, to where they can see kind of what you see is what you get, transactions. We're working on some really cool point of sale equipment now. Right now at the cash register, we're working on an LCD screen that would be customer facing, and then have a backside, very similar to the coffee shops you go in where you over tip, because you feel the pressure of that kid looking at you, and you just paid $4 for a cup of coffee and you end up tipping $1 because he's staring at you. But that same technology that's tied into the point of sale, we're updating. We're doing a 2.0 version right now that the guys are diligently working on with, my pressure on them to get that, where we could have a customer facing LCD screen that's facing out at the register that promotes all of our products, regardless of the posters on the wall. We could have that 10-inch screen that, whether it's like, hey, if you're on government benefits, you qualify for free wireless, ask here at the register. We're rolling out our own prepaid wireless brand in Q4, where we can promote it, where, it'll be $5-10 cheaper than TracFone, Metro, Boost, and all those guys. Again, because we're already in that convenience store. We got a model built where we've got a fantastic competitive advantage because we own the platform that's doing the transaction. I don't have to pay a third party. So all of that's a part of the business model. It's a methodical growth model based on discipline, but doing it where we don't go back into the red. And I know I went a long way around to answer your question, but the way that we're not going back is by being disciplined on how we're growing the company, getting that product mix honed in, profitable, then pushing forward where I can go pay the sales guy now, because we do have huge margins on the products. And look, I'm looking at a couple of other companies that we can acquire to add more products, very similar to how PayPal grew 10 years ago, when they were acquiring independent product or single product companies to add to their suite of products, which made their whole suite of products more profitable once you got in the PayPal world. Well, we're doing that same thing with these stores. We want to be able to bring that store the entire suite of products that they could possibly have to service their community. And we do so in a way where we demand exclusivity from the store. Hey, Tim, you have a store. You don't have to be exclusive with us, but you can't offer our products to your customers if you're not. So every store that we add, we're also boxing out competition and, adding years of contracts with those stores, community by community.
which is a win-win, actually, right? It's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for the store. It's a win-win. It's a win for you, and it's a win for the community, right?
Across the board. It's unique in that there's nobody holding the bag in our ability to make money. I've always been, and maybe this is because I'm not a great enough sales guy, I've always wanted to be the value play. How can I be more efficient than our competition and offer a product cost that's less than everybody else's? But, by being efficient, have as good or better customer service, as good or better quality. So it's always been kind of my driving force behind my growth model is, hey, if you have the best priced product and you're also able to have the best service behind it. Example, we have an operations center that's, provides 24/7 support to stores. If that store has a question at 9 p.m. on a Friday, they have a question because somebody's standing in front of them at the cash register who's not going to be real happy if they don't get that problem resolved. So, and we're aware of that. Again, I've pulled thousands of doors myself. I grew the company way back when by being the only sales guy. So I got I got my feet wet by actually being behind the counter with these store owners. So we understand the dynamic of the store. We understand the ethnicities involved with, traditionally a lot of times first generation folks own these stores, and we understand the clientele may not be the most patient clientele on earth. Again, they're at a convenience store. They're there to get in and get out. So everything that we've done has been reverse engineer as if we owned that store. Again, maybe it's because we're not a good enough salespeople. We want people to want us. We want to build a relationship. And part of that relationship is providing a desirable product mix at a desirable profitability.
So you mentioned a couple of times. Oh, actually, let's talk about the chart for a second, and talk about the most recent event, I guess you could call it. But you were off to you broke through some good areas of resistance, right? Technically, you broke out. You had a big move in a very short period of time, basically from about $4 all the way up to $8, right? Which was, look, that's a big move. When you have, what's the Spider-Man thing? With great success comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also become a big target, right? So you had a nice run, and the stock was primed for some sort of pullback, because nothing goes straight up ever, right? I mean, you always get some kind of a pullback, and it's in those times that sometimes some undesirable people like to try and profit from an opportunity of bashing a company. I call them hit pieces, right? Look, everybody's got their way of making money. If that's how people want to make money, I couldn't sleep at night if I did that. But whatever. I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. So you had a hit piece come out on the company. They take little kind of half truths and little bits of truths, and then they magnify them up into bullshit. But it sensationalizes the story, and it scares people if they don't know. If they haven't sat down with Brian and had a conversation about who Brian is and what he wants to do and where he wants to take this company, it's easy to get shaken out or scared or whatever, right? So that's what the hit piece is designed to do. So you had a hit piece come out, and that's why you've seen this kind of little waterfall in the stock. There's nothing you can do about it except continue to execute, right? So,
yeah, well, the instinct is instantly to fight back, and this is crazy. This is not true. How can people get away with this? Shouldn't even be legal. But at the end of the day, you only have so much time in a day, and we did want to rebut it as we did in the press release, and it was really more from the annoyance standpoint of our existing shareholders, letting them know, hey, this is not true. This is like you said, they took bits and pieces of historical events and then twisted them, flipped them upside down, and tried to apply them to today's events. And, what's interesting is the folks that wrote this, we had already told them 3 times when they did general inquiries through email, that everything we do is compliant, vetted. We have a third-party company that does our filings. And Tim, I don't know whether you know this or not, but it's August 1. I don't even personally know what we did for the month until 2 weeks from now. We have a third party that comes in and audits everything in real time. And we're audited almost every month by the FCC because of our size. There's so many compliance checks and balances that are in place now that it's not even a Chinese wall. It's an impossible wall of reliable compliance that, but like I said, if you don't know that, that's the National Enquirer is still on the stands next to the cashier because people like to go after those that they want to see fall. It's human nature, unfortunately, to take shots. And yeah, you know what? We've had a run, but as the consultants who we've surrounded ourselves with have told us, you know what, look, don't spend your energy these guys are probably already gone. It's a smash and grab. The concept of smash and grab is they're gone before everybody else follows. And then you got to pick up the pieces, just go execute. And what it did do, it gave us an opportunity to let people know, hey, look, Q2, we're looking at well beyond 6 million in net income. We're doing the right things. We're growing the company right. We're executing the company the best that we see through discipline and, excellent efficiency. And we are doing things methodically according to plan to really get that Q3 and Q4 growth, but do it the right way. Don't just grow sales for the sake of sales. Maximize every dime and make sure that it's as profitable as it can be, so that if and when you do raise capital in the future, it's a time machine to accelerate your growth. It's not by necessity. You don't need it, you greed it. And so that's kind of been what I've told our guys, told our CFO. That's really I know that I can't find that methodology out there too much, especially in the microcap world, but that is mine. I don't try to fit in. I'm trying to separate us from the pack anyways. So I think our methodology is a little bit separated from the pack. And look, it is what it is. I'm not going to apologize for it. It's the way that I would grow the company if I owned 100% of it.
Well, you own a pretty good chunk of it.
No, I do. And it impacts like I said, everything that we do. And again, I'm not going to mom and pop this forever. Don't get me wrong. I do want to aggressively grow the company, but done at the right way. It does me no good to, have $300 million of revenue and still sit here at, $6 stock price. That's not my goal. My goal is to do things where everything rises together, and it's done, like I said, with discipline in a strategic way to continue to grow this. Because look, me owning 8% of something, my net, even if I'm the greediest person in the world, what's the net impact to me personally? If we're, if the company does $1 billion in sales, but we're still hovering at this market cap, that's not my intention. And look, again, like I told you, I'm very blunt. I know I'm going to make mistakes because I'm going to try something new all the time. I'm going to do things that I see work for other companies, and I'm going to try things that I think will work for ours.
And what else can you ask for, right? Listen, anybody that thinks that they've got all the answers and running a company and they're going to make all the right moves and never make a mistake, that's just not realistic, right? That's not the real world. Who would have thought you were going to be dealing with something called COVID? Right?
Yeah, and that curve, but every curveball represents, and there's going to be hanging curveballs too. So let's be honest. But you talk about, I get asked a lot about stock price and valuation. I think you and I have even talked about this, and I don't think we're evaluated right now. I think you got to have 2 to 3 quarters of black numbers, and you got to show, for example, let us post Q2 and Q3. Let folks see that Q1 was not an accounting anomaly or some, event that just made things black. When you've lost quarter over quarter, we burned so many months and so many quarters and so many years getting here. The believability of repetition will be impacted. I think we'll be properly evaluated, if you will, toward the end of this year. And things, when they look at the revenue, as we're trending towards 20 million in net income, as we're trending, over 150 million in revenue, at some point, that true valuation of our company has to set in. Again, I'm not going to be impatient. Like we talked about, I don't look at the stock price that often. Not interested in raising money today. Doesn't affect my day. We're going to execute the plan, and I'm going to spend my mental capacity as much as I can on thinking of ideas that'll help us grow exponentially, not just stacking brick by brick.
And I think that's the way to go. I mean, we talked about it before we hopped on. Now that you are starting to see this trajectory, I mean, and look, you can take a look at the chart, and I'm backing it up. It is not difficult to see what the trend was in the stock for years, right? That trend has been broken from what there's nobody that can say anything different to me. It's not that trend anymore. The trend is now going from the lower left to the upper right. And is it going to go straight up? No, I hope it doesn't, because those are usually not sustainable.
Yeah, right? I think the thing is it goes straight back down, right? And that's
right. Those are the ones that go right.
It's got to breathe to gain ground. It's no different than marching an army. You got to march, advance, and then create the garrison and build the fence, and then move. So I tell people that all the time. It's no different than expanding an empire.
Stepping higher. There's going to be people that maybe they hold a grudge from maybe way back when. I don't know I don't know really what drives people to try and knock people down, but the numbers speak for themselves, and the growth is I think is going to continue, and you continue to build your team with solid players, right? I mean, executing always winds up eventually. I don't know how long it always takes longer than you think it's going to take, right? But eventually it's going to take hold, because they have to recognize this isn't the same company anymore, right? This is a new ball game, and they're on the right path, right? So I think I started seeing that. That's why we started talking, right? Was I don't know how long ago we started talking, but it was like this is a different deal, right? And it's starting to become very apparent. If you continue to execute the way you're executing, there's nothing that anybody can do but eventually say, you know what, it is a different deal, and it's time to maybe hop on board, right? So you got the hit piece that came out, but the stock is, had its pullback. Is it broken? No, the stock's not broken. It's still in an upward trend, right? So I think your next quarter, when you do report, will hopefully show people again that this isn't bullshit. This isn't smoke and mirrors. This is a company that's focused, has a plan, and is executing. Would you agree?
No, I agree. And but what the hit piece, if you will, did open my eyes up to, number one, the possibility of it happening. You don't really learn something through wisdom without experience. And so what it opened my eyes up to, as I looked inward and I talked to a lot of our guys, one of the things that I didn't recognize, or, you don't recognize until you need to recognize it, is, we don't have a lot of institutional sponsorship, folks with deep pockets that are behind us. We've spent so much time focusing on the profitability, the growth, the business model, the plan, the execution. So that was one of the things that's been a benefit of me hiring guys now, all with sales growth-minded guys, been in the prepaid underbanked industry for over 15 years, but they're all sales-minded guys, all growth-minded guys. I got my ops guys done. We're fit. We're good there. Everybody I'm adding now is all sales, president, VP level, evaluating more people now nationally to bring in more relationships and more sales. But what that's allowing me to do, now that I've got subject matter experts that know as much, in some cases more than me, on certain things, I'm not as involved in the day-to-day operations like I was during the grind to get us profitable. So now I'm able to spend the time talking to portfolio managers of these institutions who are doing their diligence on us, who are very interested in the fact that now we check that box of being profitable, over 100 million. We're in a different category than we were, where some of these larger funds now can look at us and start taking positions. It's no different than growing up on the playground. If you've got a couple of guys with you, there's a lesser chance of getting bullied. Well, we've been walking alone. And we also were walking around with one of the highest, best performing tech stocks on NASDAQ by ourselves. So we kind of set ourselves up a little bit to be a target, and that's okay, because next time we won't be. I'm working. I've committed a lot of hours a week to these diligence calls. Going through the grind with these portfolio managers, which are different level calls. They want to know me. They want to know the company, the addressable market, the upside, the potential. What are our goals 3 to 5 years from now? Because they're not trading, they're investing. And I think that's the biggest difference in the folks that we're creating relationships with now, is folks that are taking positions, not making trades. So those are the things. Look, I understand my responsibility as CEO. I embrace it. It's a little bit of a grind sometimes. But I know what I have to do to get us to level up as a company and to move us up that rung. Been very open with you before. I do not plan on being a micro cap for long term. A micro cap was a categorization based on our stock price. Right now as it sits, if you add up all the folks who are actually involved in our company, you include our ops center, we've got over 220, 250 folks working every single day to grow the company. We're pushing upwards of 150 million. We're going to be 20 million net income this year. We've got a lot of positive things that don't necessarily jive with a micro cap categorization. So, I look at here, this is a temporary stop for us en route to leveling up. And I know what I have to do to help get us and lead us there.
You know what, Brian? I got to tell you, man, don't knock microcaps, because I'll tell you, that's where I find beautiful companies, right? I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Hey, I'm not knocking them at all. It's like minor leagues in baseball, man. I wouldn't knock that either. There's things that you learn to take it to the next level. But like I said, I don't consider my goals with the company to ultimately, at the end of the day, be a micro cap when we look back.
No, that's not your goal. That's not your goal.
Yeah. No, that's not my goal. It's not what I'm wired to do. Like I said, I'm not knocking it. It's a part of the journey. Hey, I'd much rather have a hit piece that teaches me how to brace, respond, prepare at $8 than $25 and get knocked down. So look, all things are relative. Again, it's experience. The experience is now turned into wisdom.
All right. So let's take a couple of things here real quick and make it very clear. Number one, you don't have a need to raise capital, right? Acquisitions are always a possibility. I mean, you are looking at things, but you're not going to just make an acquisition just to make an acquisition.
We can pick our friends right now. So looking for acquisitions that either benefit us in a technology standpoint, they would add stores to our network, or they add a product to our product suite. There's got to be a specific purpose that ultimately grows the revenue of the company. Okay.
You just kind of let out the cat out of the bag that you're somewhat happy with the quarter that's you're currently in.
Happy is a funny word. Happy, content. I don't know what the word would be. My vocabulary is not big enough. I'm never going to be satisfied because I want to double. And if we doubled it, I'd want to double that. So it's kind of it's a weird sickness, Tim, but at the same time sometimes you do need to step back, take a deep breath, have a drink of coffee and go, hey, you know what? Net income over 6 million in 90 days in this unbelievably crazy macro environment of insanity that we're going through right now. That's not the worst thing in the world, especially if you look a couple of years ago and, GAAP rules, we lost 10 million bucks in a year. That's not a bad little journey for us, especially when we look at it as just scraping the surface of growing our business model. So, right. Yeah, I don't know what the word would be. Not content, pleased. Maybe it would be I'm pleased. But big picture, no, I want to double it and just keep doubling.
Well, I love your passion, man. I love your passion. I love the fact that you are. There are guys that come across as fighters, and there are guys that maybe not so much, right? But you're a fighter, and you put your money where your mouth is, right? I mean, you are a big investor in your own company, right? So, yes. And that's always something that I do like to see. So, the hit piece came out, I got to tell you, I really didn't even pay any attention to it because I'm getting to know Brian. And if I have any questions, I can actually give Brian a call, and I know I'm going to get straight talk. So that's why I do these things. I get to know the people that are leading the charge. And for me, you haven't told me anything that you haven't followed through. You've been transparent and you're executing, and that's all you can ask for in my mind, right? So I think you're doing a hell of a job, and I think the story is going to continue to get better because I don't see the need disappearing, right? I think there's going to continue to be a need for your product, and there's a whole lot of people out there that still need your help, right? The opportunity, how big is the TAM, Brian?
Well, that's a great segue, by the way, that wasn't planned on the core word that I use with all of my guys, especially my sales guys, is relationships. And the reason I use relationships instead of selling a product, whether it's this specific prepaid wireless or this ACP, or if we're building the relationships with these stores, we're basically building the railroad, the digital railroad into these communities. And no matter what technology changes, what new products come out next year, the following year, we'll just add those to the train and just pipe them into the community. Because number one, look, convenience stores are never going away. The irony of the traditional convenience store distributor is it's a really warlord regional distribution that's been set up around the country. And if you go in and you look at these companies that normally distribute the consumable products, they're third generation, 100-year-old companies, because they're going back to World War I and II. They're old companies, because convenience stores that are closest to the home have always been around. They'll always be around, because especially us as Americans, much less humans, what's the closest store? It's convenience. It's that underlying word. And most people don't pack up and go to Walmart and deal with all that. They don't. Maybe once a month, twice a month, but the underbanked, they really don't, especially when transportation could be a challenge sometimes. So if we build the relationship, there's a value to us as a company to always continue to grow. We can always add more products. We can always add more services. B, what we're building will continue to enhance the valuation of our company, because look, no matter what products we add or how big we grow, there's always going to be a bigger company who would love what we're building. All these owner operators that we've come in and created relationships with, we're in their checking account. We're moving money back and forth. We have a relationship with that's based on trust and profitability. Well, that gets to 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 stores. That has a significant value to us to enhance revenue with every product we add, but also has a huge value to these giant companies who would love to have that distribution, that see the underbanked market as the last frontier in the United States now that has not been digitized yet. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Well, there's two reasons we're building the store network. It's for our own purposes and our own use, but also to enhance the value of what we're building.
Right. No, it's a fantastic story, and I think it's got a lot of room to run. That I think you're focused, and you are having different conversations than you were having before. You're a different company. It's a different company. Watching it happen right before my eyes. So, I think it's an opportunity for those that, if you haven't followed the company, or you don't know much about it, it's a great time to dig in. I'm sure Brian, would be happy to take a call, or somebody from who's your IR?
MZ. We got a good relationship with MZ. They do a good job for us, help us out a lot, help navigate a lot of let's call it the incoming triage of questions. As a matter of fact, that's my next call. I have a great relationship with the guys over there who help us manage. I consider them, I really do consider them team members, actually good dudes, in addition to being very knowledgeable.
Okay. So listen, you've also got an IR page on your website where you can sign up for email alerts, keep up on what's happening with the company, the different partnerships. What was the other partnership you had? Is it LeadX Solutions?
Yeah, man. Hey, pretty excited about that, Tim. This is another in to convenience store relationships through the ATM. What LeadX is, and I'm not going to say it's misleading, but it's not just a lead gen company. They actually provide the software for the independent owner operated ATMs out there. So let's say not Bank of America or Regions Bank or Wells Fargo, but the actual just that generic ATM that's sitting at the convenience store. There's a human being that drives a van and services that territory and services those ATMs, and he makes a cut. The store owner makes a cut of all the money that goes, that's made through there and that footprint in their store, blah, blah, blah. It provides a service to people that need money. Well, we had the crazy idea about 6 months ago, like, those ATMs, they know when you put that card in, they know immediately what type of card it is, what type of bank account it is, and then how, from there, it's instant. So it knows a reloadable debit card when it's put in, or a card that people get payments from the government when they put it in, it knows that that's the type of card it is instantly. And we had this big discussion internally, like, well, wait a minute. If it knows what type of card that is, and human nature, I don't care if you have a reloadable debit card. You still, if your parents used cash and you used cash all your life, as crazy as this might seem to us, the underbanked don't normally use the debit card as a means of transaction. They use it as a means of stored value. And by that, I mean, they take it to the ATM and they pull cash out when they need it and pay cash. It's just because it's what they've always done. Well, every time they now will go in and put that card in the ATM, we've got these ATMs where it'll pop up on the screen and by the way, while they're focused, it's that little process while it's, counting the money, and it'll pop up on the screen and say, do you or anyone in your household receive government benefits? SSI, Medicaid, food stamps, Section 8, whatever, press yes. Yes. Please enter your telephone number to get free wireless service. And what it does, that's the lead part. It creates the lead. It goes into our software platform where we have qualified people that will reach out to that consumer and then let them know how they can sign up for the ACP. Now, what's great about that is it gives us another way to acquire subscribers, but it also gives us a fantastic way to build a relationship with that store owner where that ATM's sitting. Because to be able to have a sales guy come back into that store and go, hey, Mr. Tim, yeah, that's us. Because by the way, that store makes money, if through those leads, not through the activation, but through the leads. So for them to start saying, well, what is this Surge pays? What is this? And like, hey, we're on your ATM. We'd love to set up our software platform in your store as well, so that you could take payments for, the prepaid wireless, blah, blah, blah. So it gives us a credibility. It gives us access to the store. And it also gives us access to a ton of leads at the time when people are the most focused, because the interesting thing about, and if you think about this now, we'll reflect, when you're going through a low income neighborhood, you're very aware of all your surroundings. It's just the way it is. And people that live there are, uber aware of their surroundings. Well, the one time in a convenience store that you're actually dialed in and focused, there's really two times. One is when you're checking out. The other is when you're staring at an ATM to make sure your money's right. Well, so we've got their focus at both of those points. So we're really excited about that relationship. And I'll give you an example. This weekend, I think we have just 10 to 15 ATMs active as they're adding ATMs, and it did over 100 leads. So that's pretty insane. Just having a call last night with Jeremy, our president, about that, about ways to, okay, well, hey, if they did 100 leads in 10 ATMs, and they've got over 20,000 ATMs slotted for this. Hey, we need to make sure that we're beefed up in our fulfillment center. We need to make sure we're ready for this. So no, good problems to have, by the way.
Right. All good.
Hey, hiring people and hiring good people and hiring fulfillment people, great problems to have. But those are our challenges, managing the growth right now.
Just real quick, as a recap, how many shares do you have fully diluted outstanding?
I think if you banged out all the warrants and everything all in, should be ballpark 19 million, give or take.
Which is, just so I can stress this, super uber small. Anything under 100 million shares to me is what I would consider a small float stock under 100 million, right? So what's insider ownership of the 19 million?
Probably, let's see, I'm 35%, probably about 35-40%, give or take.
Which is,
don't quote me on that. I
won't quote you on it, but I mean
35%. You know what? I'm not counting the warrants and I don't own any of those. So it's probably 30 all in, probably 30%.
Yeah, it's still a good chunk. There's a good chunk of insider ownership, right?
Correct.
You do stock options for the employees and stuff like that too, right?
Yes, really just getting that going. So we've got, it took us a while to get the stock plan together. We had to have things post NASDAQ, and there's a lot of things that we were trying to put together. I want to be aggressive for our employees. I want to give them every incentive in the world to retain them, but also to reward them, because look, I don't want anybody working 40 hours a week. That may be what's on a piece of paper, but I want guys that are living, breathing, seeing this as their opportunity to change the lives of their kids and grandkids. So I'm providing that pathway to all of our impact players, if you will. Again, I want guys that, if I call them at 8 p.m. on a Saturday, hey, let's have a talk. Let's go. 10 p.m. text message. And I know I'm a maniac, and I surround myself with people like-minded. I don't want the guy who's been doing this forever and doesn't feel like he needs to turn a screwdriver. I also bluntly don't want the guy that's, green and just fell off the cart and, doesn't know work ethic, is interested in drinking, seeing how much he can drink and show up with his hair messed up the next day. I want that middle-aged man or woman that's willing to bust it, that's got some experience, that's got some business acumen, that can fit into a team, and then understands the concept of, if I help the guy next to me, it helps move the ball for all of us. So that's really the kind of the DNA of the team that we've put together. Really proud of my team. Probably the best accomplishment, all the numbers, all that other stuff. Really, the team is probably the biggest accomplishment of what I've been able to put together the past 2 years.
Well, that's a good feeling, because that and hopefully that continues, right? I mean, there's nothing. Well, you're former offensive lineman. You know what it means to have a good team, right?
You're only as strong as your weakest lineman. So and by the way, that's true in business. I've taken a lot of principles that I learned in football and applied them to business. And like I said, my academic is different from education. And, my education was through winning. And so there's two components there. I believe in winning. Well, really three. You got to have a good coach with a good plan. I think, look, I'll pat myself on the back. I do think we got a good plan, and I'm going to do my best as a coach. But at the end of the day, usually the team with the best players wins, as long as they're playing with a focus on the same goal. And so that I take that to heart. Again, I hire adults to be adults and to do adult things. Don't micromanage. I want people to go out there and bust it. Both. I want to give them an incentive to be greedy for themselves and their family, but to accomplish things, to satisfy that greed by moving the company forward. And that's why I love the public company play compared to the LLC business model that I lived in for 18 years.
Right. I mean, because you're now giving them opportunity. I mean, they control their own destiny, can control their own destiny, right?
Yeah, I mean, they got the jersey. They're fighting. They get a ring too. They're fighting for the win. So it's a great model. Hey, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of, good Lord. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to deal with that are outside the realm of a private business, but being able to have employee ownership and a vested interest in the success, man, it's just totally different. So yeah, we've gotten those things in place now, got our team focused, dialed in. Everybody's excited, a lot of momentum across the board. If anything, everybody's stressed out because they're trying to keep up. We're trying to hire as fast as we can to keep up with the demand. Got stores coming on. We've added subscribers. We're adding this, adding that. So, I'm working my guys to death, but hopefully, they'll be rewarded for it.
If we go into a recession, is that bad for you?
You know what? Bad for me. That's an interesting question. My net worth has gone up during the worst macro times in the last 20 years. And I don't think it's because we benefit from the demise or pain that other people experience. I think it's that your subconscious is aware of pricing more in a tough time. And you don't just gloss over the day trying to get to the next day. So I think bluntly, our market potential pool of potential customers increases. Sure. As people lose their credit. Yeah. I mean, they're potential, hey, as immigrants come in the country. Yeah. I mean, these are potential prepaid underbanked consumers that we can help and that we can address some of their needs. But at the same time, when things are doing great, it doesn't hurt us. So we kind of have an interesting business situation where our market pool does increase with tough times, but it doesn't decrease with good times. So that's why right now we're looking at some M&A strategies of other companies that maybe didn't store their nuts for the winter, so to speak, but they have a good product. They just can't afford to put salespeople out on the road anymore. Or they've built a great network of convenience stores and they're just not making as much money as they made 10 years ago before all of the wireless companies were bought by the main carriers and shrunk all the margins. So we're definitely using this time as a time of even our own awareness of some M&A out there that could benefit the company.
Excellent. All right, Brian, look, I kept you long enough. We actually had a long conversation before we even hopped on this thing. So I appreciate your time. Listen, I want to do a follow-up. We seem to do these long durations where in between, and then when we get together, it's like, we got so much to talk about that. Let's try and get after your next quarter. Let's do a quick follow-up and just kind of give everybody an update of where you're at.
No, it'd be less of a reunion and more of an update.
Yeah.
No, that sounds good, Tim. I appreciate the questions. Always fun to talk to you.
Okay, man. Hold on one second. I'm gonna wrap this up just real quick. I would suggest anybody that's watching this, put this on your radar. Put sign up for email alerts. Dig into the company a little bit, and I think you like what you're going to see. And I think this is an interesting opportunity. This pullback creates an interesting opportunity to get involved in the stock. I think this is a undervalued price, good entry price at this point. Okay. All right, Brian, hold on one second. Yeah, I'm going to turn this off. Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another CEO interview here. Today we had a follow-up with Brian Cox from Surgep Inc. Ticker symbol SURG. Hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, please do us a favor. Give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.